I think I was killing my liver, and my hands were throbbing so bad, and I was in so much pain. And it was so hard because I was all alone. It was like the loneliest time of my life.
Welcome back to Hard Reset. Thank you for joining us. Super excited about today's episode. We have Meg Johnson on, and she is most famously known for having the handsomest brother that's ever been. And so Meg has, I think like most of us, she has a bunch of different hard resets in her life. Personally, professionally, she went to Georgia. She got her MBA at Georgia, paid for by Georgia. So very excited about having this conversation. Let's start off the conversation with this question. And I'm going to try to do a really good job of asking this question, okay? So there's four things. There's four things you can choose from. One of the things you're going to be the best in the world at.
Okay.
The other three, you're going to be the worst in the world at. So there is no ranking system. So number one is the best thing in the world. The other three, you're going to be the worst in the world at. Okay. The four things to choose from are talent, beauty, charisma, and brains.
Ooh.
Talent, charisma, beauty, brains. These are the four things you can only be the best in the world at.
One.
The other three, you are the worst in the world at. What do you choose?
Talent, beauty, charisma, and brains. Probably talent is the one that comes to my mind.
Okay, why?
I think, in the family that we grew up in, we grew up and learned how to work hard, right? And so I think pretty much anything that we do, we're going to do well, right? So if we have talent and our work ethic, it's going to take us far. And I think for me, I think that thing that keeps me up at night more than anything is feeling like I have fallen short of my talent. Like I haven't done my talent justice. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
And it scares me. And sometimes I feel afraid to do things because I'm afraid I won't do it well or do a good enough job.
Is it a chip on your shoulder?
For sure.
Yeah.
So I'll say the biggest chip on my shoulder is being your sister. Seriously. I'm telling you, because I was thinking about this, and I call it little sister syndrome. And it is, I'm in therapy every week working on my little sister syndrome. So for me, my vantage point, right? We got Travis, our oldest brother, who was a great baseball player, always followed the rules, right? Did everything right. You didn't always follow the rules, but you have the charisma of any, the best charisma of any person I've ever known, right? You have this it factor. I bet your listeners don't know. So when Martin graduated from high school, he won 3 senior superlatives. Right?
Let's make this about me.
Let's make this about you. So, class clown.
Yeah.
Duh.
Crushed it.
Yeah. Biggest flirt, which Tracy did not like, by the way.
Right, because my wife, my then girlfriend, went to a different school.
Yep. She didn't love that. But then number 3 was best personality, right? And so here I am, your sister. You want to know, you remember what my senior superlative was? Same high school.
I should know this. Most intelligent.
No. Most huggable.
You are huggable.
I was the most huggable, which also,
what does
remember
that even mean?
In high school, I was super fluffy, right? I had some extra fluff on my body. And so I just kind of thought everybody was making fun of me, but I do really love to hug people. So whatever, I'm trying to lean into that. But so I had a chip on my shoulder. I remember, okay, so there was a grade in between us.
Yeah.
So you were a junior when I was a freshman. And one of the best moments in my life was when, as a freshman, I would see your friends in the hallways. And Grant Cooley, who is
so
the
handsome.
cutest boy at Roswell High School.
I think he still has like a 6-pack.
Probably. But he hugged me, and like I could go back to that moment. It's like, I was like, Please tell me everybody's watching this right now. But anyway, so I have this chip on my shoulder because you were always like so you got all these, senior superlatives. You were on prom court, homecoming court. Even Travis was at Roswell High School for 1 year and he was shy and he still was on all the courts, right? Or one of the courts. And I never was. And so in my mind, I've never felt good enough. Like I always compare myself to you and Travis. And I always feel like there's you guys and then there's me. And and that the chip on my shoulder has kind of fueled me. Like it fueled me at Georgia to like work hard and be smart and like make something of myself in my life, which I think is really helpful. But I also kind of wish it wasn't there because it's a voice that's always in my head of telling myself what I'm not. And so the work I'm trying to do is like rewire my brain. And instead of focusing on like what I'm not, seeing what I'm being invited into,
What you are.
And being a mom helps at that, right? Because I have two very different children. I have a boy and a girl, one who loves the spotlight and one who would die if the spotlight was on her. And, I can see my children and see how different they are and love them and appreciate them.
Raised the same way, right?
Yeah, raised the same way. And I know they're equal in how I love them and what they could do to the world. But for whatever reason, when I put that on myself, I have this chip on my shoulder, this like less than little sister thing.
Yeah. I think that's a fabulous point. I think also the chips on our shoulder drives us, right?
Yeah.
Because for me, like the chip on my shoulder is like, I'm not smart enough because like in the joke in our family is like Meg got all the smarts, right? I got the street smarts. Meg got all the smarts.
I got
you have
no
the best
street smarts.
Fun fact. Yeah, fun fact. You don't have all. It's not your strength, but also like you got the greatest smile in the family, right? So there's like so many strengths that you have, which is like how God makes us, which is like so unique. So it's interesting that you said talent. Thank you for asking. Mine would be charisma, and because I feel like charisma, like if you don't have talent and you don't have beauty and you don't have smarts, but you're charismatic, I feel that you could overcome some of those things. I mean, sure, if I'm the ugliest in the world and I'm the dumbest in the world and I have the least amount of talent, but I can, jazz up a room.
Yeah.
So I've never really thought of talent, but that makes a lot of sense because like if you are the ugliest in the room and you are the least smart and you have no charisma, but you have this talent. So that's interesting that you say that. So let me ask you this question then, like growing up as a kid, right? You had two older brothers. What did you think that your life was going to be like? Like even like elementary, middle, high school, like what did you think what was the vision that you had for your life?
So I have this vivid memory of so we lived in Texas in that house in Cypress that had that massive pool in the backyard.
Yeah. It was a funky shape too. It was like a inverted arrow, right?
Really? I don't know.
It was like a triangle like that though. It wasn't
I remember it being a rectangle.
Oh.
Huh. We need to phone a friend.
No, we're going to go.
Oh, we are.
For your 40th birthday.
Okay.
Not throwing
so
shade on
about
telling people how old you are, but
yes, I'm almost 40.
We're gonna go find out
level.
the shape of the pool. Anyways, back to the pool.
But I have this moment. We would play all these different games, and one of them was a game of life, where like you would choose the kind of house that you lived in, and like I don't exactly remember how it is, but you like go under the pool and like you swim in a circle a certain number of times. Anyways, my dream was I wanted to drive a Volvo station wagon. And I wanted to own a split level home.
Oh.
That was like my dream at that time.
Because it's kind of like a half ranch and then a half like
I don't know.
Floor.
I think what that tells me now as an adult is like I didn't have a dreamer. Like I didn't really think very highly of myself, I'm just all I want is a Volvo. And so looking back, like if I could just go back to that precious little fluffy girl in the pool in her one piece and would just say like, like if I could sometimes like I wish I could tell her like one day you will you will drive a black convertible.
Mercedes. Red
Not
seatbelts.
Yes, it has red seatbelts and red stitching. And I saw that car and I was like, ah. But here's what's so interesting about that car. So I bought that car. That's my car. My husband Will was so gracious to say, like, this is your car. I don't even want to be here when you drive off with it, because I want you to experience this, on your own.
This goal you achieved.
This goal that you achieved. And they had to break down the walls of the dealership to even get this car out. Yeah.
Wow.
Because it was a showroom car.
Wow. I don't know if I knew that.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was a showroom car. I'd hit this big goal in my business or whatever. And so we go in, we see it. And then I see all these other black convertibles that are like in, and I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll just get one of these, like cheaper, like older, Mercedes convertibles. And we kept on coming back to like the one with red seatbelts and with the red stitching. And anyway, so
you're not a flashy person at all.
No. So the day comes where I get to take it home, because of course you fall in love with it on a Sunday and you can't take it home that day. So they have to do stuff to it or whatever. And so they break the walls of the dealership down, like to be able to drive the car out. Like it was just this moment. And here I am, this like, I feel like a teeny bopper, I got this chip on my shoulder. It was just one of the top 5 moments of my life. But what's so interesting about driving this car is I thought, when I drove this car, this black Mercedes convertible AMG, which, is super fast.
V10.
And I feel like I need a sign, because I have lots of teenage boys driving a Toyota that want to race me. And so we pull up at stoplights and they start to rev their engine. And sometimes I put it in turbo just for fun. But I need a sign that's like, I'm a suburban mom and I don't want to get a ticket. So let's not. But anyways. But what's so interesting, when I bought this car, I thought I would turn into a Mercedes driver. I thought I would become worthy of the car. I thought I would be different. If only I had this car, I would become almost worthy of driving it, if that makes sense, right? Because I always have seen myself less than. And what I realized is I'm still the same girl, just with a nice car. I didn't even drive today. I drove my Honda.
Yeah, I saw that out in the parking lot.
Yeah.
I was like, the drop top is not here.
No.
So did you ever go look at a Volvo?
No, I never did.
Okay.
I never did.
They make sick convertibles.
Yeah.
So that's interesting that you say split level, because you're right in the fact that you didn't look for this big old mansion. I don't think they make mansion split level houses.
No, actually, but my house now is kind of a split level.
It's 3-story.
Well, but you walk in the main floor, you got the main floor, and then you go up a couple steps and you get to the master level.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
And it's not like a full house. It's just like a...
Oh, it's a big house though.
But it's like a master bedroom.
Okay.
You go up those steps, you go to the master, and then you go up more steps and you go up to the top floor.
Yeah. Okay.
So kind of...
Yeah, but it also has a basement. So you're saying you have is this a 4-story flex that we're putting on?
No. No.
Okay. All right. So the premise of the podcast and the question that I want to ask you is, personally or professionally, right? You had this moment in your life, or moments in your life, where you're like, I can't do this anymore, or I need to stop. I need to hit the reset button and flip around, do a 180 and go a different direction. And the point of the podcast is to answer that question so that it can help someone else. Maybe going through the same moment in their life. So what do you have, either personally or professionally, a quintessential moment in your life where it's like, I had to reset and start over?
First, I need to say, when you say quintessential, it reminds me of the Pookinator.
Pookie Bear.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Shout out to
Did I
them.
use quintessential in the right way?
You did. So maybe I'm having
Shout out to Jet and Pookie.
Yeah, I'm having my Pookie moment right now. So I've been thinking about that, and I've had several hard resets in my life. And one thing I think is important to know, because sometimes the idea of a 180 is terrifying for people. And I talk to a lot of people, especially women, that get paralyzed in fear over change. But I think it happens in micro steps.
Okay.
I think for some of us, it's this huge moment. But I think for others, it's just a one step at a time. Changing
Mini
one
hard
thing.
resets.
Yeah. Mini hard resets, right? that the quote that comes to mind is a rising tide brings all the ships back to the harbor, right? When I changed, and I think about that for me, when I changed one area of my life, it changed many. But the first thing that comes to my mind, and we'll see how many we talk about, who knows, go anywhere. But the first thing that comes to my mind, well, okay, so I'll for sure, let's talk about two. For sure, let's talk about my sobriety, which I have never talked about before. So
exclusive.
Let's maybe not talk about that first.
Okay.
And then let's talk about my decision to stay home.
Yeah.
And what I'll say is...
Stay home being a stay-at-home mom.
Being a stay-at-home mom. So this was 10 years ago. 10 years ago now. Yeah. Woo. Almost 11, but whatever. And so for people that don't know me, and maybe you don't even know me, so, well, you know me, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
When I went to college, right, I studied hard, I worked hard. I had dreams of being something.
Yeah.
Wanted to be the boss. I dreamed of performance reviews, and I love the interview game. But performance reviews and boardrooms and working late, that was my jam. I legitimately have goosebumps even thinking about performance reviews.
You wanted to make a motion in a boardroom.
Yeah. But just making a difference in the business world, that was my goal in life.
So what was your degree in to get?
Business management.
Okay.
Got an undergrad in business management, then went to a job fair and felt like a cattle call, just felt like one of the cattle walking through. I mean, I was totally overwhelming. And I went and sat in the office of one of my dearest professors, Dr. Kood, and I said, I have no idea what I'm doing with my life. That was totally overwhelming. There's nothing for me there. And she said, why don't you get a master's in financial planning? And I was like, huh, really? You think I could do that? And she was like, I think you could. And we have this grant. And somehow she figured out a way to get it paid for and give me a stipend to live off of while I was doing it. So she saw something in me that I didn't see, which I'm forever grateful to her for that. But anyway, so I got a master's in financial planning, and I felt I remember telling her at one point, because things were going so well, I told her, I was like, I think the rest of my life is going to be downhill from here. And she was
Things were going so well in school, or okay.
Yeah, in school, and I don't know. There was some award I won, and anyways, I was clearly the rest of my life has to be terrible, or everything must go down from here. And I just thought, she was like, I hope not. And I'm like, man, I wish my posture was one of the best is yet to come, which is in Proverbs somewhere. Be truly glad. There is wonderful joy ahead. And I have that.
Shout out to King Solomon.
Yeah. Shout out. Let's hope it's in there, in that particular book.
Yeah.
I'm a little
Proverbs.
Yeah.
Or Psalms. If you could put it in the comments.
Yeah. Put in the comments.
Great.
Where is that in the Bible? Now my brain is trying to figure out where that is from.
No. So you were in school, right? And you just feel man, I'm doing everything right.
Yeah.
And you're on cloud nine.
Incredible. Yeah. So graduate, get 2 job offers, get a job offer in my dream job, which was working for a company called Signature FD. The sexiest office I have. Sorry, this is a very beautiful office, but downtown Atlanta,
what floor?
Oh, I have no idea.
Okay.
It was in the Bank of America Plaza building.
Okay.
The Bank of America Plaza building. Oh my gosh. It was the most insane office.
Yeah.
The little girl in me that wanted to be oh my gosh, it was amazing. I got the job offer. I didn't take it. And I remember telling the guy on the phone, this is my dream job, but I don't think this is where I'm supposed to be. And he was like, you do realize you just said this is your dream job. You don't make any sense.
You were just going with your intuition?
Well, so the other job was working for Ronald Blue and Company, which was a Christian financial planning firm.
Yeah. And
it's when I had my internship in, and I felt like that's where God was leading me, is into, and these 2 places couldn't be more different, right?
100%. One was probably super secular, right?
Yep. Super secular, super sexy.
Same pay for both?
Yeah, same. I think Ronald Blue maybe gave me $3,000 more.
Okay.
I don't know, but basically the same.
Yeah.
Very, very similar. But I really felt like God was calling me to work at Ronald Blue and Company. And so I did. And it was so great because I learned like great biblical foundation. I mean, our team meetings, we would have to memorize scripture. And like, that was what we did as a team together. And so we started our Monday morning staff meeting by like reciting the scripture of the week. And so I have those scriptures related to God and money in my heart because of Ronald Blue and David Ward, who I worked for at the time. I was doing good work, doing God's good work, right? Like got my CFP.
Certified financial planner.
Yep. So like I was loving it, on top of the world, everything, had Shep. They asked me to do a commercial for Ronald Blue. And there was a new director of marketing at the time. And she was like, hey, I want you to do this commercial for us. But sometimes women get pregnant and they have babies and they don't come back. So just say no if you're not going to come back, because we don't really want you in the commercial if you're not going to be here a long time. And I was like, well, I'm pretty sure you're not allowed to ask me that. I think this is illegal right now, HR. But like, I'm coming back.
Yeah.
Like for sure, I'm coming back. So I came back. My first day was Snowmageddon in Atlanta.
No way.
Yes. Where I almost wasn't able to pick up Shep from daycare. And I came back and, loved it, whatever. But then so at the time we were managing a lot of money, like so much money.
Like hundreds of millions?
Yes. Yes. There's a lot of investment trades that are being done by me. And it was terrifying.
You're doing the trades?
Trades. Yeah. Yeah. Making like buying and selling. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like we're going to buy Verizon today and
well, more like,
mutual funds?
Yeah. Mutual funds. And they would say like we had an investment research department, but like I'd have to go in and like process trades and be like, we're loss harvesting, kinds of things. It's probably wild to even talk about now, but like, a client would give us their money. They're like everything they had ever earned in their life. And I would invest it in the market, like, based on what they told us to do. Right. But like, that was such enormous pressure
for sure
for like a 25-year-old girl who has little sister syndrome, right? Like, it was a lot of pressure. And so I would wake up, I was not sleeping. I would wake up 3:00 in the morning, like terrified out of my mind, like, oh gosh, what if I made a mistake? Or like we'd do these financial plans that would show people like how much money they could be giving away. And like, great kingdom-minded work, like beautiful work, helping people figure out, can they buy a beach house or whatever. But then I was so afraid I'd make a mistake, or like I wouldn't have done something right, or I wouldn't have counseled, whatever. And I wasn't, anyways, it wasn't a really healthy place for me mentally. Like I felt so much pressure. Yeah. And so I wasn't sleeping. And here I had this 6-month-old at the time, Shep. And I remember coming to mom and dad's house. They call it tall trees now. I don't know if you know that, because there's so many tall trees.
The red barn.
Yep. But dad came running out the door, scooped Shep out of his car seat. And
Dad ran?
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, he was excited about having his first grandson. It's like a big deal.
That is a huge deal.
So he grabbed Shep out of his car seat, and I remember being there, and he told Shep, he was like, Shep, look at all these trees. These trees have big roots, and our roots need to be in God because the storms of life will come. He was preaching to my little 6-month-old. And my first thought is like, Dad, this is crazy. He has no idea what you're talking about. But then I felt like God was saying to me in that moment, like, Meg, you can't keep going like this. You need to be the one teaching Shep about the roots. And like this, even though you work for a Christian financial planning firm, you're doing good work. You're doing God's good work. It's not the work I'm calling you to. So that was the first time I told Will that story. And Will was like, I don't think that's what God's calling us into. No, thanks. And so, he's a CPA. I'm a CFP, most boring couple ever. But anyway, so we'd run the numbers and the numbers didn't work. Like we would be in debt. Mm-hmm. But God kept on telling me, like, I found the note. I was so sure that God was calling me into this. I made a list of all the different ways I heard God's voice. And it ended up being 18 different times and experiences and conversations that God called me into this. And I found this a couple of days ago, this piece of paper.
No way.
Yeah, that it's miraculous. I don't know how, but anyways, but I kept it because I was so sure I would regret my decision to stay home with Shep. So that was probably the biggest act of courage, because we went into debt every month. And or not into debt, but like we'd have to take money from our savings. And that's so foreign as a financial planner and a CPA, right? Like, this isn't the season of life we should be doing this, but it's God's economy, right? Sure. And God provided in ways that it like blows my mind to this day. I mean, we would have needed money for something, and we would get a check for something, you know, not to the pennies like you read about, you know, but like God provided in such a sweet way. And it wasn't always perfect. Like, I remember one year, Will's Christmas gift was a coupon book, and not like a cute like coupon book for like back massages, but like Arby's coupons were in my coupon book, and I don't even like Arby's, but like that's
like an actual coupon book.
Gave him an actual
hilarious.
Coupon book with Arby's coupons. I think that's why we don't go to Arby's. Yeah. Anyways,
hold on, we need to pause. Arby's, thank you so much for your sponsorship. All right,
thanks, Arby's. So anyways, shout out to their chicken salad.
Oh, wow. How romantic.
How romantic. But that's where we were.
Yeah,
and
I mean, but that's true.
I
and that's
drive a
life.
Mercedes convertible.
Yeah.
I mean, only God could do that.
Yeah. So like what motivated, what you've almost answered this already, but like what motivated that? It was just the calling. Like, give me the motivating factor for like, hey, we're going to have to start living out of our savings. I can't do this anymore. What was, was it just one particular moment? Was it?
No, I was 18. It was there was a
like
guy.
A pros and cons.
Not even, it was just I was very aware of the cons, but it was just a pros. Like, it was just and I think it started being a whisper, right? The Holy Spirit was like, I had that feeling when Dad was teaching Shep, you know, about how important it is to have your roots in God. But the whisper kept on getting louder, and it kept on becoming like a sledgehammer. And at the end of it, I don't know if you remember this, but my body was ravaged in eczema.
Yeah.
Like, all over my body. It was so itchy. I was convinced there were ants in my work chair because nothing made sense. And I went and got a biopsy because like we couldn't figure out what was going on. But it was stress. And I have never had that since, thank goodness. But I think we knew that this was what we had to do. And so I feel passionate about letting people know it wasn't perfect. It wasn't, you know, but it was so worth it, you know? And I feel it's so interesting because now I feel like I'm kind of at a similar place where God's calling me into something, and I'm terrified, and I have no idea what it is right now. But it's like I'm listening for what this next season of life, what He is calling me into.
Are you going to write down like you have this 18 thing? Do you like,
should.
well, I have two questions. One, like, what was one of the 18 things that you wrote down of like, I mean, obviously the tall trees had to be one of them.
Actually, it wasn't even.
Oh, really?
Which shocked me.
That's 19 then.
I know. It shocked me because that's the only one I really can remember. But like one that comes to mind, I walked my manager at the time. I gave her a piece of paper, and she thought it was my letter of resignation, and she didn't even know this was even on the radar. So that was one. This man walked up to me and he said, Meg, his name was Shane. He said, Meg, only you can be Step's mom. And my son isn't named Step. You know, that's his name is Shep. Yeah. But just like in that moment, it was like really funny. But that was one of the moments, I don't know, like some of them were silly. Some of them were sermons. Some of them were conversations I had with people in the bathroom. There were lots of different things. But it was so evident because there were so many of them that it was no denying. Like,
it was God.
This is the way. Yeah. Like, go this way.
So since that moment of, all right, we're going to live out of our savings and all that, what's your life been like?
Woo. I mean, yeah. So had another kid. I remember.
Shout out to KK.
Shout out to KK. She is
the best.
Something. She did say, are you going to talk about me tomorrow? What are you going to say about me? I remember, because work was my purpose, right? I remember going into businesses and seeing things that were wrong and asking them for free if I could fix it, like fix their coupon system. There's this place in St. Simon's that I was like, oh, I can organize this for you. Can I? You know? And they were like, no. So I started getting little jobs just to have money where we weren't going into debt,
Like a work from home, like you could
work from home. Yeah. So I went to this place called hiremymom.com, started working for this man named Perry who had a college planning business.
I do remember this guy.
In New Jersey.
Yeah. Yep.
And I ran his marketing and still to this day, have never met the man, but worked for him for years and years and years and loved him. And anyway, so did that, worked for a financial planning firm, making, $15 an hour, which was like so hard to do I think that's what's so hard for women. Yeah. Cause it's like, I'm worth more than 50. I mean, I pay my babysitters more than that. Right. It's just like, but God provided. And then I gained a whole bunch of weight because I was home and bored and struggling with my purpose outside of Shep. And then found my health program and lost 44 pounds.
Incredible.
And then started helping other people lose weight, like Mom and
me,
you, and lots of people.
Yeah.
Which
hundreds of thousands.
Yeah. We just hit 10,000. 10,000 people.
You've helped 10,000.
Yeah. So
you
and
your
my team have helped 10,000 people get healthy. And I never could have believed that.
I have goosebumps just thinking about that.
I mean,
that's a huge number.
Insane. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. Yeah. I would just say if people are out there and God is talking to you or whatever, like listen to those, like even when it doesn't make sense, like there's probably a purpose and a reason behind it.
Yeah. Looking back on that moment of you have these 18, 19 things that you've journaled about and God's whispered to you, like, what do you wish right before the moment of the hard reset? Like, what do you wish somebody would have told you?
It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And you are going to be okay. Because I was so afraid, and I'm getting emotional now because I'm kind of telling that to myself as I'm in my own hard reset right now, that like, you're enough and it's going to be okay.
I love that.
Yeah.
Because so much of our lives, like when we're in the moment, it's like, it's not going to be okay.
Yeah.
Like we can't survive. We've done the math.
Right.
The math doesn't make sense.
Math isn't mathing.
Yeah. The math doesn't make sense, but God's math doesn't make sense either.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. The economy of God.
Yeah. I know that we had talked about maybe talking about your second hard reset.
Yeah.
And I think, for one, that hard reset of that mom that's really struggling right now is like, I want to be a stay-at-home mom, or I want a change in my life where I can just stay at home. I think that's going to be so helpful. Walk me through your personal hard reset that you went through.
Yeah. With my sobriety.
Yeah, with your sobriety.
So, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago now, we lost Lily, who was my mother-in-law, who was everyone's rock. She was like, I mean, God's our rock, but like she was like the glue that put everything and everyone together. And she got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and we lost her in about 6 months.
Just
58 years old. I mean,
she was like the best entertainer.
Yeah.
She was the wife.
Best strawberry cake.
Oh man, you're right. Yeah. I mean, one of the stories that fascinates me, and I don't know if the attorney's going to watch this or not, but like she would make his coffee and bring the attorney coffee while he read the paper, like old school, but just like
very
live to serve people.
1950s. Yeah. And that was her heart's, like when she passed away, somebody asked him after the funeral, like, hey, where are the trash bags? He had no idea. Where are the towels? He had no idea, because she did it all. So like props for him for like figuring so many things out. But yeah, she loved it. Like she didn't complain. Like she loved serving all of us. She would take my kids once a week for 24 hours. I mean, what a gift that is to a young mom to take both of your kids. God, and she was just absolutely incredible. I mean, she lived to be a stay-at-home mom. Never wanted anything else, right? Had a chip on her shoulder. She didn't go to school. Man, she was so good at it.
Do you strive to be that kind of mom?
When Will and I were getting serious, I told him, hey, if you are looking for someone like your mom, keep looking.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be a stay-at-home mom. So I'm very clear, like, but it's so interesting. Somebody asked her, who of your children is most like you? And the compliment of my life, she said me. Is compliment that she would consider me a part of her family,
One of
right?
her children,
And one of her children. But like, I want to be like her in so many ways. But just, I have this restlessness at home. Like I stayed home for the season until God moved me, right? But like, I wish I could make strawberry cake and, you know, I wish I didn't have this deep desire for impact or like, you know, whatever that is. I mean, impact is such a bad word for that because she's made such a huge impact on so
many. But maybe
many.
like more of an impact, not just on your family, but on others.
Yeah.
Which you've had with, you know, helping 10,000 people.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. So she passed away.
She passed away. And, you know, I have this toxic trait of, on the Enneagram, I'm a 3-2.
Okay.
So I'm an achiever and a helper.
Okay.
So I want to help people and I want to achieve, right? I think Lily was just a 2. She just wanted to help. They weren't expecting her to pass away. She did everything. So I kind of became the hero and like, they didn't know how to pay bills or like where they usernames and passwords are. So I just took over all of my father-in-law's finances.
When she passed.
Yeah. And they had homes at the beach in Marietta. They had several different homes, mountain house. Yeah. So all of these places had water and all they have. I mean, it's very, very complicated, right? Pests, place, you know, lots of things. So I had to like pick up all the pieces. I got everything set up for auto pay because that just needed to happen. But like, you know, I don't know. There were like a million little things that needed to be done. Yeah. My was managing and is still managing a massive law firm. He's a brilliant attorney, wasn't in a position and was grieving, you know, this incredible grief. We all were kind of falling apart. And then I flipped a house for him. Do you remember that?
Vaguely.
I don't even know why or how this happened. It was in like
West Cobb though, right?
Yes, it was in West Cobb in Powder Springs is the name. Flipped a house for him, which was wild. And, by the way, I was growing a business, helping, you know, lots of people. My business was exploding at this point. And so here I was grieving. My husband was grieving. My sweet children were confused and grieving. I was being the hero for, you know, my father-in-law, you know, trying to just fill whatever need I could fill for everyone. And I started drinking just to like take the edge off at the end of the day and just like I
wine,
couldn't sleep.
vodka,
sparkling ice with vodka inside.
Okay. Red. Which ice?
Black raspberry.
Black raspberry.
Of course.
Okay. Yeah.
Is there any other one? So I would drink that and I would drink at night. It put me to sleep. And then I started waking up at 2:00 in the morning. And then I'd be like, I still gotta go back to bed. So I'd make myself a drink. And then I would drink at 5:00 in the morning and then 6:00. And then it just kind of started to get blurry. And I think, you know, we have an uncle, we've never talked about this, but Uncle Nick passed away when he was about my age from alcoholism.
Yeah.
And I don't think people really even knew he had a problem. He had 2 young kids. I mean, maybe they did. I don't know. I was so little at the time. But I think there's something wrong with our genes that we have a super high tolerance and nobody around us knows, or nobody around me knew that I was struggling. Yeah. I was sleeping with Will at night, right, in the bed, and he had no idea. Yeah. He had no idea I was drinking. And so it was kind of like this mind warp because everybody thought I was fine. And here I was winning awards on stage, people telling me I'm changing their life and I have this health coaching business. And I knew I was a fraud because I was not healthy. I was ingesting toxins because I was struggling with depression. And I remember this moment. I was running in the neighborhood because I still could run. It was so wild, but I felt like I had God on this shoulder. I felt Satan on this shoulder, and it felt like they were wrestling for my soul. Like it was like the weirdest. I don't even like talking about stuff like that. It's just weird. And I remember thinking like, I don't even care if I live to see Shep get married. And I remember thinking like,
the enemy is,
that is not, that couldn't be me. That couldn't be me. And so I remember going to Will and saying, Will, like, I think I have a problem. Like, I think I have a problem. And I was ashamed. And he was like, you know, I mean, I didn't, and to his credit, I was showing no signs.
Right.
Right. And he was like, I think you're being a hypochondriac. Like, I think it's fine. I think you're fine. And so he got me like a 3-pack of Trulies that were on sale at Kroger. And I remember drinking them like a 3-pack.
You told him that, hey, I think I have a problem.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, instead of drinking vodka, like, let's drink some Trulies.
No, no, not like that. I mean,
okay.
I didn't tell him, in his defense, I didn't tell him, these sparkling ices I'm carrying around, they're filled with vodka.
Oh.
I just kind of was like, hey, I think I have a problem. I'm scared. I think I'm drinking too much. And he was like, I think you're fine. Because around everyone else, when we would go out with our friends, like I was so convicted that I had a problem, I wouldn't drink in front of other people. I only drank alone at that point. And so I would get through these experiences, you know, hanging out with people, they'd get all, you know, silly. And then I would come home and I would drink because I couldn't sleep.
Because you were worried about like like, why do you think you were?
Why did it happen?
Yeah. Like you were worried about like mourning the loss of your mother-in-law, like the not, you know, the job, like what?
I think it was the weight of it all.
Okay.
I don't think it was one thing, but I think just all of those things together created just, it's such a sad thing. Yeah, I really can't pinpoint it. I think it was just, I was doing too much and I was trying to like, here's what I think it was. I was running from myself. I was running from my own grief. I was running from my own need and just trying to be superwoman. Like, I will help you and you and you and you. And yes, you need help. Like I helped everyone. And what I've learned through a whole lot of therapy, every Thursday, 1:00, you will find me continuing in therapy. But what I've learned is the most courageous thing any of us can do is give ourselves the help we give to others. Like I love helping others. But what I've learned is like, I need help too. And I think the higher someone's capacity, the higher their need is for receiving help. And I don't like to receive help. Like it makes me feel very uncomfortable to receive help. So
why? Just because you feel like that shows weakness?
Yeah, I feel like I shouldn't need help. Like I'm a high capacity person. I can do it. I can do a lot.
Yeah. And
I don't want to take from anyone.
So when was the surrender moment?
So after I drank the 3 packs of Trulies in like 48 hours and I went and replenished them too because I was like, oh, he's gonna really know. He was going on a guys' weekend to see Chris Stapleton, and I went to him and I said, "Babe, you can't go. I can't stay home with the kids. I'm not okay." And
how brave of you!
I don't know how I did it. And to this day, the sweetest man in the world, he was like, "Okay." Never made me feel bad.
No way.
Never held it over my head. Never said, he said, okay, absolutely. I will not go.
Wow.
And he's never gone on a men's weekend since. Never had done it before. Like I have some guilt over that. But I knew something was going to happen, or I was afraid. Like I'd do something stupid, like drive the kids or something, you know, I knew things were so bad that like I couldn't be left at home with my precious children, you know?
What an incredible, selfless act. I'm fascinated by him doing that.
Yeah, he's such a good man. And then he was like, he had some questions like, okay, I guess maybe you're not a hypochondriac. So like, I need you to like, but I still don't think we started going to marriage counseling and like, this was like years later, cause I'm 3 years sober right now. Where he really saw the depth, or I really showed him, and it scared him. And I think it was so confusing too.
So was the hard reset that weekend where you were like, I'm quitting drinking, or was there another Like when did the surrender happen? Like what was the moment?
Okay, so there's so many surrenders, right? Like I think that's the whole thing. And in a hard reset, there's lots of surrenders.
Yeah.
So certainly that was one. Well, certainly the one where I told him I had a problem and he told me I was a hypochondriac, that was one.
Yeah.
Then when I was like, no, really, you can't leave me alone. That was one. And then we had gotten through Christmas, which like if you have a young family and you can get through Christmas and stay sober, like, wow. That was great. But then it was after Christmas and I started drinking again. And I knew I was in trouble because he knew now that I had a problem because he stayed home from Chris Stapleton.
Yeah.
He was like kind of on alert. It escalated so quickly. And I remember
escalated so quickly?
My issue again.
Okay.
Like I was like, oh, I can just have a drink and it'll be fine. You know, I'd got through Christmas without drinking. Like, I'm fine. Like it had been like a couple of months. And then I don't know, it was like the stress. I think it was my stress reliever, right? It was like the stress of Christmas. But we went to the national championship with all of his friends. And I was drunk in the back seat of, I cannot believe I'm saying this out loud. This is
Cringe.
But I was in his dad's Yukon Denali. And they, you know, the back seat, there's like, you can either have 3 or you can just have 1.
Yep.
So it was 1, me, and then all of their luggage and all of these grown men in the car. And I was going through withdrawals at the time. And Will didn't know I was going through withdrawals, but he couldn't tell because I was in the back. And I was watching AA meetings on Zoom over and over and over again as we drove to the national championship. We drove to Indianapolis. And I think I was just this moment that I was like, the jig is up. Like you have told him you're miserable. This is a toxin. You're depressed. You're anxious. Like, I don't know. Yeah. I think I realized like if I keep going, I knew I was going to die, which I
like Uncle Nicky.
Like Uncle Nicky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and I'm embarrassed to say this, but I feel like I need to own this part of my story. My liver was throbbing. My hands had neuropathy.
Which is what?
Which is when they tingle, which is something that happens to alcoholics. Yeah. But I think I was killing my liver and my hands were throbbing so bad. And I was in so much pain. And it was so hard because I was all alone. It was like the loneliest time of my life. I remember because I tried several different times. And I would because I knew I was going through withdrawals whenever like my hands would start to shake really bad. And you had been sober at the time. And so I remember I called you a few times to, you know, you were the only person I knew at the time that had gone before me that had done it. But I think it was the reality that like I was going to lose everything, you know?
You felt your body
it was terrifying.
Yeah.
I think I hate to talk about it so bad because I'm so ashamed because here I am, this achiever. Like I want to present myself to you and to everyone as this perfect version of myself, right? Who achieves, who's this, you know, whatever. And the reality is like, I'm just a girl who's the little sister, right? Who struggles to see her worth, who wants to be good enough, who I think serves everyone out of the fear that I'm not good enough, right? And so I think that's the journey that I'm on right now is like believing that what God says is true about me, believing that it's true, right? That I'm chosen, that he loves me, that I'm worthy without doing. I don't know. I feel like I'm rambling at this point.
No,
but
you're not at all. I mean, so like you're in the back of this Denali and you're watching, that was the day, you know, because like, how do you know you're 3 years sober?
That was the day. It was the morning because I was finishing my last sparkling ice with vodka in it in the Denali at it, you know, watching this AA meeting. I had finished it.
Are y'all driving back from the...
And we're driving to the national championship, which was kind of a very weird time because everyone was drinking like, again, because Georgia hadn't won the national championship before, right? So, or I guess that we did in the 80s. But anyways, it was a very strange time to take your last drink. But lo and behold, that is what happened.
Yeah. Well, just to kind of close, you know, this out, and I appreciate the vulnerability. especially talking about two hard resets that's
Yeah.
happened in your life. But like, there's someone watching this that maybe is drinking too much and they probably need to quit, or maybe their liver is throbbing or their hands are tingly. Like, what do you wish someone would have come to you before you got in the back of the Denali and said, hey, Meg, like, you need to quit drinking? And
You know, I mean, I wish somebody could have noticed.
you wish you
That
would
I
have
was-
been caught?
Yeah, almost. Yeah, because nobody knew. Right? To everyone else, I didn't have a problem because I wasn't drinking around them. So I guess what I would say is, if you are watching or listening to, and you are like, man, this could be me, because I knew, I could kind of see it coming. Like, I knew it wasn't an issue yet, but I was like, if I don't. So first of all, I would say, if you could do anything to not have to experience all of those bumps on the road, like if you could stop yourself early on, man, life is so much better without alcohol. Oh, life is so much sweeter without alcohol.
What makes it sweeter?
That I'm awake for it. I remember it. That I can fully feel the highs and the lows. Like, I thought I wouldn't be fun if I didn't, because I was like a really fun drunk.
Yeah.
People loved when I was drinking. And so I had like, I don't know if I'm going to be fun anymore, but I think I'm more fun because I'm more alive. Like, I'm aware of what's happening and I'm sillier. And I guess my advice would be honest with someone. Like, and not in the, I think I have a problem. If they tell you you're a hypochondriac, go find another person, call me.
Yeah.
But like, and I want to be clear, like, that was not Will's fault. Like,
For sure.
he was so kind and
You
gracious.
were a hidden drunk.
I
Like
was
you-
a hidden.
Yeah.
No one knew.
Yeah.
No one knew. So yeah. But yeah. So I would say, ooh, let the light in. I was in so much darkness
So good.
and I just needed to let the light in. So just tell someone.
Yeah. When you're in this dark clot, like just this dark room, and you just crack the door a little bit and just say, hey, like, I'm human. Because so much, especially like our generation, as
Yeah.
we grow up, it's like we need to have this perfect Instagram life and perfect Facebook
Yeah.
life. And it's like, it's not messy.
Right.
And that's kind of the purpose of this whole podcast thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like, we're a roofing company, right? And I don't want people to watch this, right? Because it's like, this isn't about roofing. This is
Right.
about the hard moments that people go through in their life that can help other people, whether they want to quit their job, whether they want to quit drinking, whether they are battling these hard things. That's so good. Like, just bring it to light. Just crack
Yeah.
the door. Oh, that was so good. I'm grateful for your time and your vulnerability. I think this will really help a lot of people. How can people, that are struggling with either one of these hard resets, how can they get in touch with you?
They can find me on Instagram,
Oh, the Motivating Mama?
the Motivating Mama, MAMA, Mama.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your time.
Yeah.
I love you.
Thank you, Marty. Love you too.
Because we can't hug. You're a big hugger.
Yeah.
We can't hug. It
Got
would be
high five.
awkward.
Yeah.
Let's try the awkward hug
Okay, let's do it.
on camera.
Okay, perfect. We gotta stand up.
Okay. I love you.
Love you too.
Wow. Thank you, Meg, for being vulnerable, sharing two different hard resets that have happened in her life. I mean, it's just an incredible story of like trying to go down this road of like, I'm going to be a financial planner and have this whole vision. And God just kind of changed that. And one of the big takeaways that I had from her is when you're in that dark moment by yourself and you feel alone and maybe the enemy is after you, it's like, hey, just crack that door open, let a little light in, tell someone about it. And that to me was just such a great visual. Obviously, we do this podcast thanks to our roofing company. So if you have anyone that is in need of a roof or needs a roof repair or a free roof inspection, we'd be happy to set them up for that. It's going to help us pay for it. The other way is that if you could like and subscribe to our channel, our promise to you is like, we're just going to give you good stories of people that we know that can help you or maybe help someone that you know is going through. So by subscribing to our channel, it's basically going to allow us to notify you when we release new episodes. And I'm super excited about next week's episode because we're having my good friend Damien. He is from New Orleans and has this incredible, he's a sales leader, but he has this incredible story and just all these kind of challenges. He hit a fire hydrant, like smacked in playing hide and seek one day. So he has these like metal plates. So look, when you watch this episode, look to see if you can see it in his face. I was shocked when he told me that story. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.